this play, something that was interesting to me was Esther's relationship. So she has these different pairs of relationships, and you can see similarities and differences in how they juxtapose throughout the whole play. Specifically, I see this in Mammy and Mrs. Van Buren, and then in George and Mr. Marks. A value or priority I see in this play is of partnership. You know, it's this idea of love versus not love. You have Marks, who's going to marry a woman he's never met. You have George, who's writing to Esther because he wants to come to America and find love. You have Van Buren, who is wealthy and was in love, but now is stuck in this relationship where her husband doesn't like her. And then you have Mrs. Dixon, who married not necessarily for love, but so that she can live a comfortable lifestyle. The second value I see is that of wealth. So it's like laborer versus non-laborer, the idea that, oh, you should be marrying up. And I mean, there are people in the play, including Esther, that just provide for themselves. Something I looked up was chups. I thought it was just like a sigh. It came up a lot, specifically when George was trying to convince Esther to give him the money. When I looked it up, it said it's the sound when you suck air between your teeth, which is such a different thing than sighing, and it helped me really more deeply understand George's disapproval of Esther in that scene. I think that this play reinforces some understanding of the African American experience, not necessarily good things, some of the negative things, like how whenever Esther went to Mrs. Van Buren, she had to go through the back door. It talks about how the people around her are forced into hard work. You know, someone that's a dishwasher. George is forced to work in the canal. Mammy is forced into prostitution. I think that it also resists some stereotypes, specifically with Esther, because she's respectable and hardworking and provides for herself, which I think also defies some stereotypes about women in this time. Yes, I think stereotypes still exist. I think they can be perpetuated a lot, especially people our age, by joking. So if you see someone that does something that fulfills what you think is a stereotype, joking about, oh, you're so stereotypical. I think we can overcome these stereotypes by engaging in honest dialogue with each other about race and stereotypes and what we can do to be avoided. 2 questions I have. The first question is, I just wonder why the play never circled back to Van Buren at the end, which makes sense, but it was still a question I have. The other question I have is, why did Esther not say anything to George or Mammy after she figures out that George is going there and Mammy is sleeping with him and they want to be together? It just seems odd to me that she would just let her not do anything about that and then give the money over to George when she knows that that is going on.